The day I graduated, I watched other people's fathers cry. I watched them stand in the bleachers with phones held high, faces soft with pride, shouting their kids' names like they'd been waiting their whole lives for that moment. I watched moms fix tassels and dads straighten ties. I watched families take photos in the sunshine like it was the most natural thing in the world to show up for the people you claim to love. My father didn't show up. Not because he couldn't, because he didn't want to. He told me that 2 weeks before graduation, calmly, like he was canceling a dentist appointment. "I don't think I'm going to make it," he said on the phone. I froze in my tiny apartment kitchen, one hand still damp from washing dishes. "What do you mean you're not going to make it?" I asked. "It's my graduation." He sighed like I was exhausting. "I've got a lot going on, Anna. A lot going on." The phrase that always meant I was supposed to swallow disappointment politely. "Dad, you live 3 hours away," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's one day. One ceremony. Your mother wants to go visit your aunt that weekend," he replied, as if that settled it. "And I'm not driving down by myself." My stomach dropped. "So, you're skipping my graduation because Mom doesn't feel like going?" Silence. Then, irritated, "Don't make it sound like that." "How else is it?" I asked. He exhaled sharply. "Anna, you're an adult. You don't need your daddy clapping for you. You know I'm proud." Proud. The invisible kind. Kind that requires no effort. "I wanted you there," I whispered. "Well," he said flatly, "sometimes we don't get what we want." I remember staring at the wall after that call ended, my chest tight, the world suddenly quieter. It wasn't just the graduation. It was the confirmation that my big moments were optional to him. He came to my sister Laura's high school awards night. He drove 5 hours for her dance recital. He took off work for her community college orientation. For me, a 3-hour drive was too much. Till I kept hoping. 'Cause hope is a stubborn, humiliating thing. Graduation day came. I put on my cap and gown alone. I pinned my hair back alone. I walked across campus alone, surrounded by friends whose families were carrying bouquets and balloons. My best friend's mom hugged me and said, "We're proud of you." And I almost cried because a stranger's pride felt heavier than my father's words ever did. When my name was called, I walked across the stage, smiled for the camera, and accepted my diploma. In the crowd, I scanned faces anyway. Habit. Hope. Trauma. There was no father. No mother. No family. Just a sea of strangers cheering for people who weren't me. After the ceremony, I took photos with friends. I forced my smile to stay up. I refused to let the emptiness show because I'd spent my whole childhood learning that if you looked hurt, people called you dramatic. That night, I sent Dad one photo anyway. Me in my gown, holding my diploma, standing by a tree. I texted, I graduated today." He replied 2 hours later, "Dad, congrats, kiddo. Proud of you." That was it. No call. No, I'm sorry. No, I should have been there. Just a sentence that could have been copied and pasted to any child. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I didn't need him. I built my life anyway. I moved to a bigger city. I worked 2 jobs while applying for opportunities. I got rejected. I got back up. I kept going. And slowly, I became someone my father would brag about, if it benefited him. I learned that the hard way 3 years later when a video of mine went viral overnight. I wasn't trying to be famous. I was just posting a short clip on social media as part of a campaign I designed at work. It was a behind-the-scenes video showing a project I'd led, from concept to launch, in 30 seconds. It was clean, smart, relatable. I posted it, went to bed, and woke up to 1.8 million views. By lunchtime, it was 5 million. By dinner, news pages were sharing it. People were stitching it, reacting to it, praising the message. My inbox filled with interview requests. Brands were emailing. My manager was calling me into meetings with executives who suddenly knew my name. It was surreal. It was exciting. It was terrifying. And then my phone rang. Dad. I stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. Hello, I said. His voice was bright. Too bright. Anna! There she is. The superstar. My stomach tightened immediately. Hi, I said carefully. I saw you online, he continued laughing. Everyone's talking about you. Your aunt sent me the link. Wow, you really did something. I waited. 'Cause I knew my father. Praise from him always came with an agenda. Listen, he said, lowering his voice like it was a business call. I need a favor. Of course. What kind of favor? I asked. He cleared his throat. Can you send me a nice photo? Like a professional one? I want to post it. People are asking if you're my daughter. My chest went cold. That was the moment. Pure distilled truth. He skipped my graduation, but he wanted a photo when I went viral. Not because he missed me, because he didn't want to miss the attention. I held the phone tighter, keeping my voice steady. You want a photo, I repeated. Yes, he said eagerly. Something good. And maybe a little caption I can use. Just proud dad stuff. You know. It'll look great. I stared at the wall, the same place I'd stared 3 years earlier after he told me he couldn't make it. My throat tightened, but my voice came out calm. Dad, I said slowly, where were you when I graduated? Silence. The brightness drained from the line. What? He asked. Where were you, I repeated, when I needed you there for me, not for the internet? Pause was long enough for me to hear him breathe. And then, instead of apologizing, he did what he always did. He got defensive. Don't start, he snapped. I'm calling to support you. Support. The word tasted bitter. You're calling to borrow my moment, I said quietly. No, he barked. I'm your father. I have a right to be proud. And that was when I realized the conversation wasn't about a photo at all. It was about ownership. About him trying to claim a success he never invested in. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel scared to say no. I felt ready. My father stayed on the line, waiting for me to laugh it off and give him what he wanted. That's what I used to do, swallow the discomfort, hand over the peace offering, pretend the craving for his approval didn't still live somewhere deep in my chest. But something about hearing people are asking if you're my daughter made my skin crawl. Like I was a product he suddenly wanted to put his label on. I took a slow breath. Dad, I said evenly, I'm not sending you a photo for the internet. Silence. Then a scoff. Excuse me. He snapped. I said no, I repeated calmly. His voice sharpened immediately. So you're ashamed of me now? There it was. Classic flip. He couldn't admit wrongdoing, so he turned it into my cruelty. No, I said. I'm ashamed of the timing. He huffed. Timing? You didn't come to my graduation, I said. You didn't call. You sent one text. But now that I'm viral, you want a proud dad post. He laughed once, harsh and disbelieving. Oh my God, he said. You always do this. You keep score. I stared at the wall, steady. I keep memories, I replied. And mine are very clear. He inhaled sharply. I'm trying to celebrate you, he insisted. You're making it negative. Celebrating me would have looked like being there, I said quietly. Not posting me. His tone shifted to cold irritation. You think you're better than us now because you're famous for 5 minutes? I almost smiled at the irony. He skipped the moment that mattered because he didn't want to drive 3 hours, but now he was accusing me of being arrogant. I'm not better, I said. I'm just done being convenient. That landed. He went quiet for a beat, then came back louder. Your mother was sick that weekend, he snapped. My heart jumped. Mom was sick, I asked, because if that were true, I'd remember. She had a headache, he corrected quickly. And she didn't want to go. That's what I meant. A headache. He just tried to rewrite history in real time. So you lied, I said softly. No, he barked. I didn't lie. I'm just explaining. We had things happening. And now you have things happening again, I said. Only now it benefits you. He exhaled like he was losing patience. Listen, he said, voice lower, more controlled. You're overreacting. Send me one photo. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal, I replied. Because you're not asking as my dad. You're asking as someone who wants credit. The line went silent. Then he said very slowly, credit. Like he couldn't believe I'd accuse him of that. Yes, I said. You want to stand in the glow without standing in the rain. My voice didn't shake. It surprised me. You didn't show up for the hard parts. You don't get to show up for the applause. His breathing sounded heavier. Then he did what he always did when he couldn't win on logic. He reached for shame. You're unbelievable, he muttered. After everything we've done for you. I laughed softly. Like what? I asked. Name it. He sputtered. We raced you. We fed you. That's the bare minimum, I interrupted gently. You don't get a trophy for parenting obligations. His voice rose again. You're so ungrateful. No, I replied. I'm finally accurate. He went quiet for a moment. Then the tone changed. Manipulation, softer, almost warm. Anna, he said, come on. People will see me as a bad father if you don't let me post. You want that? I felt my stomach twist. There it was. The real fear. Not losing me. Losing reputation. If people see you as a bad father, I said calmly, that's because of your actions, not my boundaries. His voice hardened. So you're punishing me. I'm protecting myself, I replied. Big difference. He inhaled sharply, then spit out, fine. Whatever. I tried. And he hung up. Click echoed in my apartment. My hands were shaking again, but not from fear. From the shock of hearing my own voice stay steady. I sat down at my kitchen table and stared at my phone. Part of me wanted to cry. Part of me wanted to call back and smooth it over. That old training, if Dad is angry, you fix it. Dad feels embarrassed, you rescue him. Dad withdraws, you chase. I didn't do it. Instead, I opened my messages and saw what had piled up while I was on the call. Hundreds of notifications. People praising my work. Strangers saying my story inspired them. Journalists asking for interviews. My world had expanded. And my father was still stuck in the same small script, take, claim, control. 10 minutes later, Mom texted. Mom, why are you upsetting your father? I stared at it. I could almost hear her tone, annoyed, as if my emotional boundaries were an inconvenience. Then another text. Mom, he's so proud of you. Don't be cruel. Cruel. That word again, the one they used whenever I didn't cooperate. I didn't reply. I didn't argue. I knew if I engaged, I'd be dragged into hours of circular talk where I ended up apologizing for being hurt. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I posted the truth, small, subtle, undeniable, on my own terms. Not a rant. Not an attack. A simple caption under one of my viral posts. I'm grateful for everyone who supported me when I was building in silence. That was it. No names. No drama. Just reality. The response was immediate. Thousands of comments. People sharing their own stories of absent parents suddenly appearing when success became public. And then, as if on cue, my aunt called. "Hi, honey," she said sweetly, too sweetly. "Your father told me you're refusing to let him celebrate you." I closed my eyes. Here came the family machine, the network of flying messengers designed to pressure me back into compliance. I took a breath. "I'm not refusing celebration," I said calmly. "I'm refusing performance." She gasped like I'd insulted religion. "Anna, he's your father." "Yes," I replied. "And I was his daughter at graduation too." Silence. And I knew then, this wasn't going to be a one-call conflict. This was going to be the moment I either folded back into the old role or finally rewrote the terms of our relationship for good. The next 24 hours felt like being hunted by politeness. Not the obvious kind, no screaming voicemails, no public posts calling me names. Just concern. Just family. Just a coordinated effort to drag me back into the role of the reasonable daughter who absorbs disrespect so everyone else can stay comfortable. My aunt called again. My cousin texted. Even an old family friend I hadn't spoken to in years messaged. "Heard you're doing amazing. Your dad must be so proud." The phrase started to sound like a chant. Proud. 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 As if pride was currency and my father was owed interest now that the investment paid off, even though he never invested. I kept working through it anyway. Interviews, meetings, calls with my team, approvals, deadlines. Viral attention is flattering, but it's also loud. The last thing I needed was my family trying to hijack the narrative like it was a community project. That evening, I finally got a message that made my stomach drop. Laura, Mom and Dad posted you anyway." I stared at my phone. Then, "Laura, it's your graduation photo. The one you sent Dad years ago." My chest went cold. I opened social media and saw it instantly. Dad had posted my graduation photo with a long caption written like a movie trailer. "Proud dad moment. My daughter always had greatness in her. We knew she'd do big things. So proud of the woman you've become." Under it were hundreds of comments from relatives and strangers. "Great job, Dad. You raised her well. Proud parents." People congratulating him like he'd written my thesis. Like he'd shown up. Like he'd earned the right to stand in the spotlight. My stomach twisted, not because I cared what strangers thought, but because he had stolen one of the only pieces of my graduation day that was mine. That photo wasn't a proud memory. It was a scar. And now he'd turned it into marketing. I called him immediately. He answered on the first ring, too cheerful. "Hey, superstar." I didn't match his tone. "Take it down," I said flatly. Silence. Then the cheerful voice cracked into irritation. "What?" "The post," I repeated. "You used my graduation photo." "Take it down." He sighed like I was being unreasonable. "Why?" "People love it. It's sweet." "It's not sweet," I said. "It's theft." His tone sharpened. "Oh my God, here we go again." "You were not there," I said, voice steady. "That photo exists because I graduated alone. You don't get to use it like you earned it." He scoffed. "I'm your father. I don't need permission." My jaw tightened. "Yes," I said, "you do." He laughed. "Permission? From my own daughter?" "From an adult woman," I corrected. "Whose face you're using to look like a good parent?" His voice rose. "I'm proud of you. That's the point. If you were proud," I replied, "you'd respect me saying no." He paused, then did the most predictable thing possible. "Your mother says you're acting crazy." I exhaled slowly. "Of course she does." "You're going to embarrass us," he snapped. "You already embarrassed yourself," I replied calmly. "Now take it down." His voice dropped, cold and threatening. "Or what?" Question hung in the air. My pulse stayed steady. "Or I'll tell the truth," I said. He barked a laugh. You won't, he said confidently. You're too afraid of looking like the bad guy. That sentence hit me like a slap because it was true. Old me was afraid. Old me would rather choke on pain than be seen as disrespectful. But I wasn't old me anymore. I looked at the post again. Comments. Praise directed at him. The way the internet was rewarding his absence because he'd packaged it as love. I took a slow breath. You have 10 minutes, I said quietly. If it's still up, I report it. He went silent. Then he snapped. You wouldn't do that to your own father. You did worse, I replied, to your own daughter. And I hung up. 10 minutes passed. Post stayed up. I reported it. Not with rage. With a calm click. Image used without consent. Personal photo. My likeness. I also messaged Laura privately. Me, did Dad have any other photos of me saved? Laura, he has a folder. I felt my stomach drop. A folder. Curated. Like content. I took another step. I changed my settings. Limited tagging. Limited visibility. I also posted a short story, not naming anyone. Just 2 lines on a plain background. If you weren't there for the work, you don't get to claim the credit. Boundaries aren't cruelty. The response was immediate. Thousands of shares. People resonated. The internet can smell authenticity. Meanwhile, my phone exploded. Mom called. Dad texted, Dad, take that down. Mom texted, Mom, what did you do? You're humiliating us. Laura, they're freaking out. Post got flagged by the platform. Comments started asking questions. Wait, you skipped her graduation? Why is she posting about boundaries? This seems messy. Dad's praise campaign was collapsing under the weight of one thing he couldn't control, curiosity. And that's when Mom did what she always did when she couldn't win privately. She tried to win publicly. She posted a vague status, sad when children forget their parents' sacrifices. Some people let fame change them. The subtext was obvious. People flooded her comments with sympathy. Stay strong, Mama. Kids these days. It was pathetic. But it also made one thing clear. They weren't upset because they missed me. They were upset because they were losing the story. And in that moment, I made a decision that felt terrifying and liberating at the same time. I wasn't going to scream back. I wasn't going to write an essay exposing them. I was going to do something cleaner. Something they couldn't twist. I opened my phone, scrolled to my dad's contact, and typed one message. One sentence. Kind that changes everything. Me, if you want to post like a proud father, start by saying the truth. You chose not to attend my graduation. Apologize publicly, then we can talk privately. I hit send. And I waited. Because now the ball was in his court. And for once, the only way he could win was by being honest. My message sat in the thread like a lit match. I could almost feel my father staring at it, weighing his options the way he always did. What's easiest, what looks best, what costs him the least. 'Cause for him, love was never the question. Image was. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then my phone buzzed. Dad, are you seriously trying to make me apologize publicly? I stared at the words. He didn't deny skipping graduation. He didn't ask how it felt. He went straight to the part that threatened him, being seen. Me, I'm not making you do anything. I'm telling you what repairing this would look like. Another buzz. Dad, you're extorting your own father. Extorting. Like I was demanding money. Like I was stealing something from him, when he just used my face to steal praise. I took a slow breath and replied with the only thing that ever works with people like him, clarity. Me, I'm not asking for anything I didn't deserve 3 years ago. Accountability isn't extortion. He didn't respond for an hour. Then I saw the platform notification. Dad's post has been removed for policy review. My stomach tightened. Not because I felt guilty, but because I knew what would come next. My father never handled consequences quietly. The second his narrative slipped, he panicked. And panic made him aggressive. Call came from Mom this time. I watched it ring, then sent it to voicemail. Immediately, a text. Mom, call me now. You are destroying this family. Another text. Mom, your father is humiliated. Fix this. Fix. There it was again. The family's favorite verb. Fix meant swallow it, apologize, make us feel normal again. I didn't respond. I didn't explain. I'd learned that explanations are oxygen to manipulators. They inhale your reasoning and exhale a new way to twist it. Instead, I went back to my actual life. I did a recorded interview for a media page. I met with my manager. I drafted a campaign plan. I kept building my future while my parents tried to drag me into their past. That night, Laura FaceTimed me. I hesitated, then answered because Laura was the only one who sometimes wavered between loyalty to them and reality. Her face filled my screen, eyes wide. You're trending again, she said. Not just because of the video. Because of this. I didn't post their names, I said calmly. I didn't attack. You didn't need to, she whispered. People are connecting the dots. She swallowed. Dad's losing it. He's saying you're ungrateful, that you're making him look like a deadbeat. I laughed once, without humor. He made himself look like that by skipping my graduation, I said. Laura's mouth tightened. Mom says you're punishing them because you hate the family. No, I said softly. I'm refusing the lie. Laura looked down. He's calling relatives, she admitted. Trying to get people on his side. He's saying you've been difficult your whole life. My chest tightened, but my voice stayed steady. Of course he is, I said. If he can make me look unstable, he can avoid accountability. Laura was quiet. Then she said something that surprised me. He did skip, she admitted. I remember. He said you'd be fine and he didn't want to drive. My throat tightened. Thank you, I whispered. I'm not saying it to defend you, she said quickly, defensive reflex kicking in. I'm just saying the truth. I nodded. That's all I need. When we hung up, I sat on my couch and stared at my ceiling for a long time. My brain tried to pull me back into the old fear. What if everyone thinks you're a bad daughter? What if you ruin your relationship permanently? What if you regret it? Then another thought cut through, clean and steady. What relationship? A relationship where my father only wanted me when I was useful to his image wasn't a relationship. It was a transaction. And I was done paying. Around midnight, Dad texted again. Dad, I'm not apologizing publicly. You're making me look weak. There it was. The real reason. Weak. Not wrong. Not sorry. Weak. I stared at the message, then typed carefully. Me, you don't look weak when you apologize. You look honest. If you refuse honesty, I can't stop people from seeing that. Seconds later, Dad, you think you're so smart. You always thought you were better than us. I didn't reply. Instead, I screenshotted the conversation and saved it to a folder I labeled Reality. Not to post. Not to weaponize. To protect myself from future gaslighting. 'Cause one day, when the guilt tried to creep back in, I'd need proof that this wasn't in my head. The next morning, my aunt called again. I answered this time because I wanted one thing, to stop the messenger chain. Honey, she began, voice syrupy, your father is heartbroken. He just wants to celebrate you. Can't you be the bigger person? Bigger person. Translation, smaller daughter. Aunt Karen, I said calmly. Being the bigger person is how I ended up graduating alone. Silence. She sputtered. I'm not discussing this, I continued. If Dad wants a relationship with me, he apologizes to me. If you call again to pressure me, I'll hang up. Anna, I love you, I said politely. But I'm done. And I hung up. Felt brutal. It also felt clean. That afternoon, my dad posted again. Not my photo. A vague paragraph about fathers doing their best and children misunderstanding sacrifices. No apology. Just victimhood. Comments were mixed. Some sympathetic. Some skeptical. And a few sharp and simple. Why didn't you go to her graduation? That question kept appearing like a crack in a wall. And my father couldn't patch it with pride. 'Cause pride doesn't answer facts. That night, as I scrolled, I saw something that made my stomach flip. A message request from a woman I didn't recognize. Her profile picture showed a little boy in a graduation cap. The message said, "Hi. I went to college with you. I remember graduation day. I remember you looking around for your family. Are you okay?" My throat tightened. Someone had seen. Someone remembered. And suddenly I realized my father wasn't just fighting me. He was fighting reality. And reality had witnesses. Which meant the next part wasn't about going viral. It was about deciding what I would do with the truth now that it wasn't just mine anymore. I stared at that message request for a long time. My first instinct was to ignore it. Old training. Keep the family secrets, protect the image, don't make waves, don't be dramatic. But another part of me, the part that had spent years swallowing disappointment like it was normal, felt something else. Relief. Someone remembered. Someone had seen me standing there in my cap and gown, scanning the crowd like a fool who still believed love would show up late. I replied carefully. Thank you for saying that. I'm okay. It's just complicated. Her response came quickly. Stranger, I get it. I just wanted you to know you weren't imagining it. I remember you sitting on the steps after, trying not to cry. My throat tightened. That memory landed like a weight. 'Cause she was right. I had sat on the steps afterward, pretending I was texting someone, using my phone like a shield so nobody would notice I had no one. I had told myself no one saw. I had told myself it didn't matter. But it did. And someone had seen me. That night, I didn't post a call-out. I didn't expose names. I didn't do the dramatic thing my parents accused me of doing. I did something calmer and somehow stronger. I posted one short video, just me sitting in my apartment, no filters, no makeup, plain lighting. I didn't mention Dad by name. I didn't mention Mom. I spoke to the camera the way you speak when you're finally done performing. I've been asked a lot about family lately, I said. So I'm going to say one thing clearly. If someone wasn't there for you in private, they don't get to use you in public. That's not hate. That's boundaries. I paused, breathing. And if your success makes absent people suddenly appear, you're not obligated to hand them your moment. That was it. No accusations. No timeline. No rage. Just truth in a clean bottle. I uploaded it and went to bed. In the morning, it had millions of views. People weren't just reacting, they were confessing. The comments filled with thousands of variations of the same story. My dad missed my graduation too. My mom ignored my struggle but posted me when I got a promotion. They love the spotlight, not the person. It wasn't about me anymore. It was a mirror. And my father hated mirrors. By noon, my dad's number called again. I answered this time because I wanted him to hear my voice, steady, adult, unafraid. Anna, he started, voice hard. What the hell did you do? I shared a boundary, I said calmly. You made me look like a monster, he snapped. I almost laughed. I didn't mention you, I replied. If people assumed it's about you, maybe ask yourself why. He went silent, then exploded. Stop playing games. Everyone knows. Your mother is crying. People are messaging us, saying we're terrible parents. I breathed slowly. Did you go to my graduation? I asked. Silence. Answer, I said, not loud, just firm. He exhaled sharply. No, he muttered. Why not? Another silence, longer. Then, because your mother didn't want to go, he admitted quietly, like he couldn't believe he was saying it out loud. My chest tightened. And you chose not to go alone, I said. He snapped back into defensiveness. I'm not your enemy. I was working. I was tired. We had bills. Dad, I interrupted gently. You drove 5 hours for Laura's recital. He froze. I heard his breath. That's different, he muttered. How? I asked. Silence. Then he tried the oldest weapon. You're turning the internet against us. No, I said. The internet is reacting to a pattern they recognize. I didn't create that. He hissed, you're so ungrateful. And something inside me finally clicked into place like a lock. Dad, I said softly, gratitude doesn't mean erasing your own pain so someone else can look good. He went quiet. Then he said, low and bitter, so what do you want? This time I didn't hesitate. I want you to stop using me, I said. And I want an apology that's real. He scoffed. I already said I'm proud. Pride isn't an apology, I replied. It's a feeling you have. An apology is something you do. He let out a harsh laugh. You sound like a therapist. I sound like someone who grew up, I said. He went silent again, then said, if I apologize, people will destroy me. I blinked. There it was. Not concern about me. Fear of reputation damage. If you apologize, I said, people might respect you. Or they might not. But at least you'd be honest for once. He swallowed audibly. I'm not doing it online, he said. Then do it to me, I replied. Privately. But stop posting. Stop asking for photos. Stop using my graduation picture like you were there. He muttered something under his breath. Dad, I repeated, firm. Can you do that? A pause. Fine, he said reluctantly. Fine. It wasn't warm. It wasn't heartfelt. But it was a crack. And cracks are how light gets in, if someone chooses not to seal them with denial. That evening, Laura texted. Laura, Mom says you're ruining Christmas. I stared at the message, then typed back. Me, I didn't ruin anything. I just stopped lying. She didn't reply. But an hour later, Dad sent me a text that made my pulse jump. Dad, can we talk in person? No cameras. Just us. That request felt different. Not because I trusted him suddenly, but because for the first time he wasn't asking for a photo. He was asking for me. And I knew the next conversation would decide everything, whether he was capable of seeing me as a daughter or only as an image. I didn't say yes immediately. My father had asked for in-person conversations before, usually as a way to regain control. No screenshots, no receipts, just his version versus mine. But this time I had something I never had before. Leverage I didn't even want. Not internet clout. Clarity. And clarity makes manipulation harder. I replied after an hour, me, public place. 1 hour. If you blame me or deny the graduation, I leave. He answered quickly, Dad, fine. We met 2 days later at a quiet coffee shop near the edge of town. Neutral territory, bright windows, people nearby, nothing private enough for him to rewrite reality. I arrived early and picked a table where I could see the door. When he walked in, he looked older than I remembered. Not just physically, emotionally. Like the strain of keeping a fake story together had finally started to show on his face. He sat down and didn't reach for me. No hug. No warmth. Just discomfort. You look good, he said. I nodded. Thanks. He stared at his coffee cup like it was a script he couldn't read. This whole thing, he began, voice low, got out of hand. I didn't interrupt. I waited. He continued, I didn't expect you to make videos about it. I tilted my head. I didn't make videos about you, I said calmly. I made one video about boundaries. He exhaled through his nose, irritated but contained. Well, people assumed, he muttered. And now your mother is getting messages. I stared at him. Dad, I said evenly, are you here because you miss me or because you want the messages to stop? He flinched. For a second, he looked like he might tell the truth. Then his old reflex kicked in. Why does it have to be like this? He snapped softly. Why can't you just let me be proud? I leaned forward slightly. You can be proud, I said. Privately. Without posting. Without claiming. He shook his head, frustrated. You don't understand how it feels, he said. People are asking questions. They're judging. I held his gaze. That's what you're worried about, I said. Not how it felt for me to graduate alone. His jaw tightened. I said congratulations, he snapped. I nodded slowly. In a text. 2 hours later. He stared at the table. Silence stretched between us. Then I asked the question that mattered. Did you skip my graduation because Mom didn't want to go? His shoulders tensed. Anna, yes or no, I said calmly. He swallowed. Yes, he admitted. My chest tightened, but my voice stayed steady. Did you ever apologize? He frowned. I said I was proud. That's not an apology, I replied. He looked up, annoyed. You're obsessed with words, he said. I almost smiled. No, I said softly. I'm obsessed with reality. He leaned back, rubbing his forehead. Look, he said, your mother and I, we did our best. There it was. The blanket phrase. The one meant to cover every failure without naming any of them. Your best was driving for Laura, I said quietly. Your best was skipping me. His eyes flashed. Don't bring your sister into this. Why not? I asked. Because it proves the pattern? His mouth opened, then closed. He looked trapped. I'm here, he said finally, voice tight. Isn't that something? I sat back. It could be, I said. If you stop negotiating. His eyes narrowed. Negotiating what? The truth, I replied. You keep trying to turn this into things got out of hand and people are judging. I'm not talking about the internet. I'm talking about me. He went quiet again. Then he spoke slowly, like it physically hurt. I should have gone, he said. My throat tightened, but I didn't rush to comfort him. Yes, I said. He swallowed. I was wrong, he added. That was new. Yes, I repeated. He looked up, eyes glossy with anger more than sadness. I didn't think it would matter that much, he said. You always seemed fine. I nodded. I learned to look fine because it was safer, I said. Being disappointed was never allowed in our house. He stared at me like he'd never considered that. Then his voice sharpened again, defensive. But do you have any idea how it feels, he said, to see your daughter go viral and people act like you're some villain? I didn't flinch. Do you have any idea how it feels, I replied, to be invisible until you become useful? He looked away. We sat in silence while espresso machines hissed and someone laughed at a nearby table. Normal life happening around a conversation that felt like surgery. Then he said the line that proved he still didn't fully get it. If you'd just sent me the photo, none of this would have happened. My face went still. So, I said softly, you think this happened because I set a boundary? He hesitated. I think you escalated it, he muttered. I nodded once. Okay, I said and reached for my coat. His head snapped up. Wait, what are you doing? Leaving, I said calmly. We agreed. If you blame me, I leave. He looked panicked. No, I didn't mean, I stood. Dad, I said evenly, you just told me your peace mattered more than my pain. Again. His mouth opened, then closed. He stood too, voice rising. Anna, sit down. Don't do this. I shook my head. I'm done arguing for my own humanity, I said. If you want a relationship with me, you apologize without excuses. And you stop using me online. If you can't do that, we don't have a relationship. We have a performance. His face tightened. For a moment, he looked like a man staring at the consequences of his own choices and realizing he couldn't charm his way out. Fine, he said, voice shaking with frustration. I'm sorry. I should have gone to your graduation. I was wrong. He said it fast, like ripping off a bandage. I paused. I looked at him. Say it again, I said quietly. He blinked. What? Say it again, I repeated. Slow. Without anger. His jaw clenched. Then he exhaled, like he was letting something go. Anna, he said, voice lower, softer. I'm sorry I skipped your graduation. You deserved better. I should have been there. The words landed differently. Not perfect. Not complete. But real enough to stop me from walking out. I sat back down. He sank into the chair, exhausted. I don't know how to fix it, he admitted. You don't fix the past, I said. You fix the pattern. He nodded slowly. No more posts, he said quietly. No more photos. No more claiming. And I prompted. He swallowed. And I'll tell your mother to stop. I held his gaze. You'll tell her, I repeated. Or you'll enforce it? He looked uncomfortable. Then he nodded. Enforce it, he said. That was the first time in my life I'd heard him choose action over comfort. We talked for another 20 minutes. Not warm, not healed, but honest. When we stood to leave, he hesitated. Kaniukyo? He asked quietly. I paused. Then I nodded once. The hug was awkward, too late, but not fake. When I walked out of the cafe, my body felt lighter, not because everything was fixed, but because I had finally said the truth to his face and stayed standing. My phone buzzed as I got into my car. A new notification, Dad's Proud Dad post was gone. Fully deleted. Not archived. Not hidden. Gone. And for the first time, I felt like maybe the internet hadn't ruined my family. It had just removed the last place they could hide. And now the only question left was what would happen when my mother realized she couldn't use my father as her shield anymore. I didn't even enjoy the relief of the deleted post for a full hour before the next wave hit. Because in my family, when one person stops enabling, the person who benefits most from being enabled panics. My mother panicked. She called that same evening, 4 times in a row. I watched the screen light up, my stomach tightening out of habit. Then I reminded myself, my nervous system was trained, not truthful. I did not fear a response. I let it ring. Then a text arrived. Mom, your father took down the post. What did you do to him? I stared at it. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't ask why it mattered. She asked what I did to him, like I'd poisoned him against her. Another text came seconds later. Mom, call me. Now. I didn't. I went for a walk instead. The air was cool, the city loud with normal life, people laughing, buses hissing at stops, dogs tugging on leashes. I wondered how many adults were walking around carrying invisible childhood rules like chains. Don't upset Mom. Don't embarrass Dad. Don't ask for too much. When I got home, I saw Dad had texted too. Dad, she's furious. I told her it's done. I won't post you again. I stared at the message and felt something unexpected, gratitude. Not for a perfect father. For a father finally choosing reality over her temper. Then my phone rang again. Unknown number. I sighed. I knew it was her using someone else's phone. Same tactic, different story. I answered anyway because I wanted this to end cleanly. Hello? Don't you hello me, Mom snapped. Her voice came through sharp and trembling, like anger trying to cover panic. What did you say to your father? Kept my voice level. I told him the truth. She made a disgusted sound. The truth, she mocked. Your version. Your dramatic little sob story. My jaw tightened, but my tone stayed calm. You can call it dramatic, I said, but Dad admitted he skipped my graduation because you didn't feel like going. Silence. Quiet on the line was thick. Then she hissed, How dare you bring me into this? I almost laughed. You were always in it, I said. You just weren't used to being named. Her voice rose. I am your mother. I don't need to be named by my child like I'm some villain on the internet. Then stop acting like one, I said quietly. She inhaled sharply. You're turning people against us, she snapped. You're humiliating me. I didn't name you, I replied. I didn't post you. You humiliated yourself when you made my graduation optional. Her breathing became ragged. Optional. She spat. You're an adult. You wanted a party. That's all. My chest tightened. It wasn't a party, I said. It was a moment. A milestone. A day I'll never get back. She scoffed. Oh, please. You got your diploma, didn't you? You always get what you want. That sentence made my stomach flip, because it exposed how she truly saw me, not as a daughter, but as a competitor who should never be satisfied. Mom, I said slowly, this isn't about the diploma. It's about you needing everything to revolve around your preferences. Her voice turned icy. Your father never should have apologized, she said. You manipulated him. I closed my eyes. No, I said. He apologized because he realized he was wrong. Wrong, she repeated like the word offended her. I didn't do anything wrong. There it was. No remorse. No reflection. Just absolute entitlement. I opened my eyes and looked around my apartment, the soft light, the quiet, the life I'd built away from their chaos. Okay, I said. Then nothing changes. Her voice sharpened. What do you mean nothing changes? I mean, I replied calmly, if you can't take accountability, you don't get access. She laughed bitterly. Access? She sneered. You talk like you're some celebrity now. This fame has made you disgusting. I felt my heart steady. This isn't fame, I said. It's boundaries. And I needed them long before the internet knew my name. She started crying then, not soft tears. Angry tears. After everything, she choked, you're doing this to me. I stayed quiet, because I recognized the tactic. Make it about her pain so I'd rush to comfort her so she wouldn't have to face mine. Through a moment, she regained her bite. If you don't fix this, she hissed, don't come home for Christmas. Don't call me. Don't expect anything from me. I almost smiled, sad and small. Mom, I said gently, you already didn't come to my graduation. You already didn't call when it mattered. Threatening to not show up doesn't work anymore. Silence. Then her voice dropped, venomous and controlled. You think you're so righteous, she said. But you're still my daughter. And you will regret treating your mother like this. I took a breath. I regret graduating alone, I said quietly. I regret begging for crumbs. I regret making myself small to protect your image. She hissed my name like a curse. Anna, I'm going to say one last thing, I interrupted calm. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with a real apology. For skipping my graduation. For rewriting it. For using Dad as your shield. If you can't do that, I'm done discussing it. Her breath hitched. I have nothing to apologize for, she snapped. My voice stayed steady. Then we're done. Don't you dare hang up on, I ended the call. Quiet that followed was immediate and enormous. I stood in my kitchen with the phone in my hand and felt my body waiting for the guilt wave. It didn't come. What came was grief, clean, honest grief for the mother I'd spent years hoping would choose me. I sat down, breathed through it, and let myself feel the sadness without turning it into self-blame. Then my phone buzzed. Dad. Dad, I heard her. I'm sorry. I won't let her use me anymore. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, Me, thank you. That was all. No big reconciliation. No dramatic showdown. Just the quiet shift of power. I was no longer available to be managed. And that meant the story could finally end the only way these stories ever truly end, when the person who was always supposed to shrink finally refuses. Till there was one more thing to do. One final action that would close the loop and make the boundary unmistakable. 'Cause with parents like mine, words were never enough. Only consistency was. After I hung up on my mother, I didn't immediately feel powerful. I felt hollow. Like I'd finally removed something toxic from my life and my body was still adjusting to the absence of poison. I stared at the wall for a long time, phone on the counter, tea going cold beside it. Then I did the most important thing I'd ever learned to do. I acted while I was clear, not while I was emotional. 'Cause emotions pass. Patterns don't, unless you interrupt them on purpose. I opened my laptop and typed 2 emails. One to my manager. If any media request asks about my family, please route it to me. I'm keeping it professional and private. The second to myself, a reminder I scheduled as a note on my phone. Don't negotiate boundaries with people who refuse accountability. Then I did something even more concrete. I went into every platform setting I had and locked my life down. Tag approvals. Comment filters. Family visibility. I removed my relatives from close friends. I blocked anyone who was forwarding my content back to my parents. I wasn't being petty. I was cutting the supply line. Because I understood now, my parents didn't just want access to me. They wanted access to what I represented. And I had the right to protect that. The next day, Dad texted again. Dad, your mother is saying she'll tell everyone you lied. That she'll post her side. I stared at the message and felt my stomach tighten for half a second, then it released. Because the fear was familiar, but I wasn't living under it anymore. I typed back, Me, she can post whatever she wants. I'm not fighting online. Dad, people will believe her. Me, the people who matter won't. There was a pause. Then, Dad, I didn't realize how much we hurt you. That sentence hit me harder than any insult my mother had thrown. Not because it fixed anything, but because it was the first time he wasn't trying to manage me. He was trying to understand. I replied simply, Me, I know. Then I went about my day. Work. Meetings. Planning. Real life. 2 days later, my mother tried one last move. She didn't post a public story. She didn't apologize. She sent a group text. A family group chat I hadn't spoken in for months. Mom, I don't know what I did to deserve this. I've always loved my children. Fame changes people. Please pray for our family. The message was designed perfectly. Vague enough to make her the victim. Emotional enough to recruit sympathy. It was bait. And the old me would have bitten, would have typed a long, desperate explanation trying to prove I wasn't cruel. Instead, I did something different. I left the group chat. Quietly. No announcement. No drama. Just exit. Immediately, Laura texted me privately. Laura, Mom's crying. Everyone is asking questions. Why can't you just say sorry and make it stop? I stared at that line, say sorry, and felt the old rage rise. Not at Laura. At the family rule that the person who gets hurt is also responsible for cleaning up the discomfort. I replied carefully, me, because I didn't do anything wrong. And if making it stop requires me to lie about my pain, it isn't peace. It's surrender. Laura didn't respond for hours. Then she sent, Laura, I remember you looking for them at graduation. I swallowed hard. Me, that's why I'm done pretending. That weekend, I flew back to the city that had become mine. I didn't go home for Christmas planning. I didn't ask permission. I didn't negotiate. I simply lived. And something unexpected happened. The internet moved on. The hype cooled. People found the next viral story. The world kept turning. But my parents stayed stuck because they were finally facing a reality they couldn't outtalk. They couldn't post their way out of accountability. A month later, my father called. Not to ask for photos. Not to talk about comments. Just to talk. How are you? He asked quietly. I'm good, I replied. And I meant it. There was a pause. Then he said, Your mother still won't apologize. I exhaled slowly. I know, I said. But I'm not negotiating that anymore. Another pause. I want to visit you, he said. Just me. If you're okay with it. I looked around my apartment, my couch, my plant, the framed photo of myself laughing. I thought about graduation day, the empty bleachers, my phone as a shield. And I realized something. Success didn't heal me. Boundaries did. Okay, I said softly. You can visit. Then I added clearly, but we don't talk about Mom as if she's the weather. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be real. I understand, he said. And for the first time, I believed he meant it. The visit happened 2 weeks later. My father stood awkwardly in my doorway holding a small bag from the bakery downstairs. Cinnamon rolls. Peace offering. He looked around at my place like it was a foreign country he hadn't earned a passport to. You built this, he said quietly. I nodded. I had to. He swallowed. I'm sorry, he said again. Not fast. Not angry. Not defensive. I'm sorry I didn't show up. You deserved a father who showed up. My throat tightened, but I didn't collapse into forgiveness. I just nodded. Thank you, I whispered. We ate cinnamon rolls at my table. We talked about real things. And when he left, he hugged me, careful, respectful, like he knew trust was fragile. After the door closed, I stood in the quiet and felt something settle in my chest. Not revenge. Not victory. Freedom. Because here was the truth I didn't understand when I was younger. The revenge isn't ruining them. The revenge is refusing to be used. The revenge is graduating alone, going viral alone, and then building a life where your worth is never again measured by whether your parents are proud enough to post. My dad skipped my graduation. But when I went viral, he tried to claim me. He wanted a photo, a caption, a proud father moment without any of the fathering. In the end, I didn't give him a picture. I gave him a boundary. And that boundary didn't just protect me from him. It protected me from becoming the version of myself my mother raised, the girl who apologizes for being hurt. I'm not that girl anymore. I'm the woman who showed up for herself when no one else did.